Today, we're diving into the cultural phenomena that is Candace Owens. Whether you love her or you love to hate her, there is no denying her influence. She has become one of the most recognizable and controversial voices in modern journalism, resonating deeply across pop culture and politics, from her viral takes on social media to her unapologetic commentary on everything from race to gender to government overreach. Candace is a force. And in this episode, we go deep, talking everything from vaccinations to Harvey Weinstein, Blake Lively, and Justin Baldoni. We even get into why people are suddenly obsessed with Macron's wife. Nothing is off the table and everything is up for grabs. So buckle up. Keeping it real with Jillian Michaels. Keeping it real. Let me do a little recap here. You've just ran from a tornado warning. You're about to have your fourth child. You get up at 4:30 in the morning to exercise. And some woman, Jessica Reed Krause, Crazy Town, has put a hit on you.
She's put a hit on me.
What the hell is going on? All of my friends are like, worried about you. Tell her she's a national treasure. Do you know this is happening? I'm like, who is this lunatic? You guys, what's going on?
I feel like you're responsible for that. I think she's from California. I feel like you've got to tell me what's going on in the water over here.
Oh, crazy is going on in the water over here.
So.
I think Gavin Newsom is injecting it into the friggin' reservoirs that all happen to be full. But yeah, what is this? This is about RFK? I don't even understand.
You know, I have somewhat pulled back from politics, so it was very confusing for me because I was just so nice to her. It's very strange, like how, as you and I are sitting and speaking and we're having a great conversation, to connect with somebody like on a personal level, have things be great, and then a couple of weeks later you find out that, and you can read their messages because her writers are giving them to me, and she's horrible. Like she's speaking about
we
me.
We need to take out Candace. I like take out like the brain or just ruin her entire life and her family's. What is that?
It's crazy. And her writer was refreshingly honest. Like she has this writer, Emily Hagan, and me and my PR person, we were laughing about it because he was like, Andy Cohen should scoop her up. She has this rare likability factor where she's so honest about something she's done. It was like so terrible. She was like, yeah, I wanted to take you down. I wanted to ruin your life. She's like, I don't know why. I got completely crazy. She's like, sometimes I think I have bipolar disorder and that's why I like Kanye. I mean, she was just telling me everything. She was like so honest that I couldn't even be mad.
Okay.
And she was telling me, this is what we did. Here are the text messages. And I don't know why I got so obsessed with taking you down, because she thought, and she described it as like she had kind of concocted a conspiracy theory in her own mind and she believed it related to Kanye West. And I'm like, I've never even met Bianca Censori, so this is crazy. But how did Jessica get involved? Like this is the person running the company, right? So you're the person who's got to kind of assign some reality here and go, hey, we just had this person on our podcast. If we have any questions about anything, we can just direct them to her. And apparently she genuinely, based on the messages that I read, believed that I was trying to copy her brand.
Oh, this is why she wants to kill you.
Because because I covered the Blake Lively trial, which is like the most covered thing in the entire world right now. But clearly anyone who's speaking about it is only speaking about it because they want to be House In Habit. And when I read these messages, I went, you know what? This is so middle school. I really can't engage any further because I can't believe this goes on. And this has to be like La La Land stuff because serious people are not communicating like this. Like there's nothing in my brain that would ever go, why did Jillian Michael talk about Blake Lively? Is she trying to be me? Does she want to be me? Candace Owens? I'm going to take her down. I'm going to destroy her.
That is the
nutty.
Craziest
it's totally
thing
nutty.
I have ever. So looking at all of this right now, and you've covered some awesome stuff, some crazy stuff. What is on your radar right now?
Everything. And I think that kind of gets into like the busy mom thing. People are like, how do you plan your show? And I really give people just pieces of myself. Like it's like talking to my sisters on the phone where we're randomly talking about this, we're talking about that, we're talking about this, and you're kind of interested in everything. Because I think women are really good at multitasking. And I'm following all sorts of things. And it's truly my passion. Like I have been such an advocate for women, for parents to be informed about vaccines. So one day it'll be like totally dedicated to talking about health topic. The next day I'm like deep, because I love legal arguments. I'm just like deep in the Baldoni Blake Lively suit because I'm like, this is amazing. There's so many layers of that lawsuit that are just absolutely incredible.
Really? Like, okay, so
have you gotten into it?
no, and here's why.
Do you know some people?
No, I genuinely hate gossip. I'm not traditionally, this is such a stereotype. This must be my inner misogynist. I find that so many of my female friends, including my wife and my daughter, by the way, they love gossip. My wife would kill me for saying that, but she knows about it. I can't stand it. I don't give a about Blake. Who cares?
This one isn't gossip, and that's what I try to explain to people. The reason people are being drawn to this lawsuit is not because it's gossip. It's not like, the Kardashians, watching like a season of the Kardashians and things like that. It is like one of the most evil Hollywood plots. Like, you couldn't even write this in a movie. This is what it's looking like between a couple with a tremendous amount of power, being Blake and Ryan,
right,
who were just going to like take over and destroy a man's entire life because they wanted to put her name on a movie. And then you get characters like Taylor Swift involved. You're reading the messages. And what's interesting is that you're finally able to see like what Hollywood tells you someone is, like their brand, the Taylor Swift brand of goody two-shoe, versus like what's maybe going on behind closed doors. And like,
did she get involved? I thought she didn't get involved.
Well, Blake says she did. These are Blake's messages. So Blake could be a liar, but the evidence is that she's not lying, because then Justin also, the people are digging up old interviews, similarly said like, Blake was involved in picking characters for the movie. Taylor Swift was involved in picking characters for the movie, casting characters. And so what it is it's people are feeling like for the first time, like Hollywood, which has looked like a shiny penny, you're starting to go, wait a second, what is this? Because these are the people that say, we're good people, we donate, we attended the Amphar
That's
Gala.
all virtue signaling, and you know it.
That's
and
what's
I
crazy.
Know it, and now everyone else is starting.
Ryan is
to
a
know
nasty piece of work.
Oh, I'm so disappointed.
Oh God,
he's so
I
funny.
could never watch. You know who tried to warn us?
Bitch.
Martha Stewart.
Really?
Martha Stewart. I pulled this clip from my show. She was on some random game show, and they asked her like, who would she want to cook with or whatever. And the guy was like, Ryan Reynolds. And she was like, I know everybody thinks he's funny, but he lives in my building and he's really not. And she heavily implied that he was like not a nice guy. And she just said it in the most Martha Stewart boss way. And everyone's looking at that now being like, Martha Stewart knew that Ryan Reynolds was insane and actually like a mean person.
I'm so disappointed.
He
because
uses
he's
his
kind of
character, but he's not. He uses his character to bully people. So he's not playing Deadpool. He's playing Ryan Reynolds. And he has like, there's a psychological phenomenon with this case where it's just shocking. Just like that. I thought he was so nice, thought he was so funny. He's totally insane. Like, he's totally insane, controlling, demented. And he went through great lengths to make this puppy. I call him a puppy because I disagree with everything about Justin Baldoni's politics. But man, if he isn't really not virtue signaling, like he is like genuinely like just like
sweet little soul.
A sweet little soul who just wants everybody to be happy and doesn't want to, partake in anything. And Ryan was triggered by that. And when you just see how he went after him and wanted to make him know, like, I am the A-lister, you are crap, we will do whatever it is that you want, we will destroy you because we can, getting WME to drop him because I'm friends with Taylor Swift and she's our godmother. It's like watching a scary movie. So that's what people are drawn to. It's not because it's gossip. Like, I'm not into like reading Us magazine and like this person divorced and like whatever.
You're so friggin' intelligent, so if you're onto it, there's got to be something
God,
there.
I couldn't look away. I was going, what? This is like it's an act of evil. And everyone's just waiting because we're going, you're not allowed to get away with this. Like, we all are now teaming up left and right going like, whatever that is, you're not allowed to get away with that. You can't just like pummel a kid and like then like leave him in a locker and like we've all like found it now and we're like, we need justice. We need justice for Justin Baldoni.
Really?
Like, yeah. And so it's been fun because it has been this like rare uniting case with the left and the right. I think on the right, principally, I've always found problems with the Me Too movement because of just this reason. But colluding with the New York Times to ruin his life, to take him down. This was like some A-list WME. Ari Horowitz, before he stepped down from the CEO a couple of weeks ago, his name is Ari Horowitz.
Candace?
CEO of WME.
I stay so... Listen, I grew up in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I have seen it since I was a kid. And it is a dirty business. People are vicious and cruel.
Vicious.
And
vicious.
They are, I'm sorry. There was a guy who ran NBC when I was there named Paul Talegdi. He was effectively, by the way, Justin Baldoni's lawyer, Brian, he was tossed out of NBC. He was head of NBC, Paul Talegdi, by Brian Friedman, Justin's lawyer, and he was a monster. I'm not even gonna, and they were all like that. I'm sorry.
But what do you think it is about Hollywood? See, this is an interesting perspective to add to it that facilitates that kind of behavior, because that's what's so shocking. You can't behave like this in the rest of the world. This is like a weird bubble where people are just so, they do things and you just go, what is wrong with you?
It's the culture. So think about who's going to be drawn to that kind of power. And that kind of individual will exert their will in whatever way necessary to maintain power and to maintain wealth. Hollywood is just a little microcosm of the same crap you see in super corrupt industry, no matter what it is, right? But what's so nefarious and filthy about it is that there's all this virtue signaling that you're a really good person, when it's the exact opposite. And what I can tell you is that everybody who's a really good person has subsequently had things come out about how they're not a really good person.
Right. And the media is complicit in it. And that's what I think has been really compelling for people on the left, is because these are, like, the New York Times was the one that published the hit piece. Like, they're now being sued for $200 million. Wow. And traditionally, people on the left believe the New York Times is like, you know, the Bible of like, this is, they were going to have fact checkers, it's institutional, they're not going to allow anything to go out. Even that, I think, for them is, they're going, what is this? Why would the New York Times partake in this? Why would Megan Twohey partake in destroying? And it's just like, well, maybe she's just friends with Dylan Farrow, and Dylan Farrow's friends with Taylor Swift. This could just be powerful people calling each other, and this is what they wanted to do.
I honestly think you're right.
Yeah, and so that has been what's really shocking for a lot of people is, now who do we trust? Because it didn't just blow up. Like, this is like, it's bigger than just a celebrity you may have liked. It also is making them go, okay, well, if they could lie about this about Justin Baldoni, were they maybe lying about Candace Owens? Like, who I've had as there's so many elements psychologically.
Let's do that. I want to go there. I'm half Jew. Do you hate Jews?
According to the New York Post.
I haven't been told I hate black people yet, but I'm waiting for it. So just, when the time comes.
It was the last Pokemon ball for me to catch, by the way. I've been called everything. So now it's like a game. So I was like, okay, what have I not been called yet? And like, this was the last one. I had to be called literally Hitler. And so when that came last December, I was like, this is crazy, because this shows you, again, how they don't even do basic due diligence. Like, if you knew anything about my life, first off, born in New York, raised in Stamford, Connecticut, like, you just can't. Like, I worked in private equity for Jews. It's just crazy. But it's obviously, you get a sacred cow. Like, George Floyd was kind of like the sacred cow of BLM. You say something against the sacred cow, and then suddenly it's like you're a self-hating black person who wants black people back in slave chains. I'm like, okay, I just don't agree with BLM, right? And
you've also experienced hideous racism.
Yeah, of course. I
didn't know that about you. When you were in high school, you had to sue the school. It was so awful.
Yeah, we sued them for the money for me having to be out of school while this was going on.
It was only $37,000.
I know, people are like, oh, it was a huge lawsuit. It was like, it was for like the homeschool. Yeah, homeschool costs. But yeah, so I've lived through so many things. And I think part of that is why I've always known what the media was as an entity. And it's just them trying to force their opinion, and they'll smear you. And so for me, it's like, never has this been a rule. Growing up in a very Jewish town in Stamford, Connecticut, and always having best friends that were Jewish, who never complained. It's a very weird culture, by the way, for black people and Jewish people who like used to be the funny people who could take a joke like that. Like, traditionally, that's what always brought our cultures together. They suddenly become these like snowflakes. Like, post BLM, black people were just like, everything was racism. Like, Khloe Kardashian could put her hair in braids, and we were like, cultural appropriation. I'm like, this is pathetic.
Because they held on to it for so long because it didn't feel safe to say so?
No.
Really?
No, it was just, I think there's something about victimhood that can be really compelling. And I also think it has to do with what you learn when you're young, right? So there's this, as a black person, you are constantly being impressed upon in the public school system, like slavery. And so maybe in the back of our minds, you're kind of like, well, we could just be thrown back into this if we don't say something. But similarly for Jewish people, Holocaust. So then when you have the news people that are telling you like, you must defend Israel or it's all coming down. Like people are going to be hunting you in New York. Your instinct is to go, okay, your instinct is to get tribal. Your instinct is to get tribal.
All of my Judaism is a very bizarre story. I actually did not know I was a Jew. I grew up in the San Fernando Valley. All my friends were Jewish. My mom's mom ran from the Nazis and she married my mom's dad, American soldier, comes over here as a war bride and tells my mom, don't tell anyone we're Jewish. Wow. So I go and get a friggin' 23andMe. I'm like, what? Where's my party? Because like the 13-year-old bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, like I didn't get one. I was so pissed.
How old were you when you found out?
Oh my God, 20s.
That's crazy.
And then all of a sudden, all the stories came out about how the names were like Maltzin. I mean, like Jewish.
Super Jewish.
Full-blown Russian Jews.
Right.
I thought she was a Brit. Like they ran to Austria. They ran over to frickin' England. She got married. Some of them got pulled into the camp. No one told me.
Told you anything because they just wanted a new life.
Yes. And I think she was afraid. My grandfather was Sicilian, Catholic. I think she was afraid. She died when I was 10, so I never got really a chance to ask. And my mom to this day is like, honey, I just remember her telling me, like, don't tell anyone. So now it's like I have the blood. I was closest to my grandmother. And my dad's actually an Arab, so it's the most bizarre. I'm not an Arab Jew either. I'm full-blown, like, Lebanese, Syrian, Russian Jew. And
you should just be fighting yourself all day.
I should be. I totally should be. But instead, I think it makes me so curious about different perspectives and trying to see both sides of every story. But all my friends who grew up Jewish
couldn't see anything.
No.
Yeah, that was like BLM for me. Like I was like, I mean, the way that I was caricatured because I just was like, hey guys, like what about our actual experience growing up? Like, we didn't like, this isn't the America that we know. This isn't how I felt growing up. I never felt that this was like, I was going to be back in slave change tomorrow.
Oh, you did experience it.
Yeah, but even the story of that is not what is. And like, I wrote about that in my book. Even the way that was told by the media wasn't totally honest, right? It was my best friend at the time who left those messages, right, and looped in some other boys, right? And so he did that because he was hurt because he's a kid. Okay, at the time, everyone's young. He was hurt because I stopped hanging out with him when I got my first boyfriend. It's actually so childish what happened. What do you do when you're hurt? What's the first thing you do? Like, think about yourself. Everybody's got a little bit of racism in them. You get mad if somebody cuts you off and he's like Mexican at the red light. You're like, stupid Mexican. You're like, why did I say that? Why did I say that? This is crazy. I don't have any bad feelings about Mexicans. It's like when you're upset with someone, you can try to, when you're young, hurt them in a really petty way. Right. You know what I mean? It's a super young perspective to have. And so he felt, I did. It was my first boyfriend. I just like ghosted all my friends, first time you fall in love. Oh my God. It was so childish. And adults could have sorted that out in a totally different way. And it blew up out of proportion and genuinely, like, he was my best friend.
Oh, see, I full-blown thought it was like the KKK at your doorstep.
No.
I was kind of surprised. I'm like, 2007.
And I watched the way the media loved that story so much because one of the kids that he had in the car, those kids were having their first beer. They were all 14, right? And so this was the first time they were drunk. And he's like, we're going to call this girl and she's black and we're going to like say mean things to her, right? And so, if you're trying...
I'm not going to lie to you.
I hate it too.
Like, if someone did that to my daughter, I feel like I would drive
But this is the reality.
Beat some asses.
You think you would, but you also have to have the perspective. But kids' brains are not developed.
Spring is here, and who's got the itch to travel? Summer is just around the corner. And for me personally, I go to Quince for all my luxury vacay needs, but I get them at a fraction of the price. We're talking about lounge sets and washable silks, all kinds of awesome stuff. I got a lightweight carry-on that makes traveling feel like a breeze. Hoisting that sucker up onto that top shelf of the plane, no problemo these days, even though I'm only 5'2". Thanks to Quince, it actually makes everything easier and more affordable because they cut out the middleman and they pass the savings on to us. And not only that, Everything is ethical and sustainable. They work with top fabrics only. And that's just one of the reasons that I love this company. So for your next trip, treat yourself to the luxe upgrades that you deserve from Quince. Go to quince.com/Jillian for 365-day returns, plus free shipping on your order. That's QUINCE.com/Jillian to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Jillian.
When your metabolism is working properly, you're going to feel the benefits in literally every aspect of your life. I mean, I personally have found a valuable tool that gives me the insights to create a healthy metabolism for my body, and I recommend it to everybody I work with. It's called Lumen. Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It's a device that measures your metabolism through your breath, and on their app, it lets you know if you're burning fat or carbs, and it gives you tailored guidance to improve your nutrition, your workouts, your sleep, and even your stress management. All you gotta do is breathe into it first thing in the morning, and you're gonna know exactly what's going on with your metabolism, whether you're burning fat or carbs, and then Lumen is gonna give you a personalized plan for that day based on your measurements. You can also breathe into it before and after workouts, before and after meals, so you know exactly what's going on in real time. And as mentioned, Lumen gives you tips according to your personal data to help keep you on top of your health game. This is why I love it. I don't like to guess at things. Knowledge is power. Having concrete information allows you to take powerful action steps that go a really long, long way. Bottom line, it also tracks your cycle as well as the onset of menopause, and it adjusts your recommendations to keep your metabolism healthy through hormonal shifts. Guys, this way you keep your energy up, you stave off cravings, and on top of it, the warmer months are coming. So let's get summer ready and spring back into your health and fitness. Go to lumen.me/Jillian to get 15% off your Lumen. That's LUMEN.me/Jillian for 15% off your purchase.
Right. And we all got the ability, and I think about this all the time because I had to think through that scenario, and it impacted my life for a long time because I'm from somebody who wasn't known, who at least was known in my hometown, because the media loved it, because one of them, the governor of Connecticut's son, was one of the kids, right? So it became this political story, and they didn't care about the kids involved anymore. It didn't matter about people's lives. You know, those kids grew up and it ruined their whole lives. Like one mistake, one night, one beer ruined their entire lives. And I'm talking about in terms of like, you know, one of them changed their names when they grew up. Think about this. You have to think about that, right? We used to grow up and you used to be able to experiment with being mean.
Right, there was grace.
Yes, there was grace.
I get it.
There was grace.
Total homophobe as a kid.
Yeah, and there's this wonderful Louis C.K. skit. It's not a skit. He's actually sitting down. I think he's speaking to Conan O'Brien, and everyone should watch it, where he says, like, the phones have taken that away, and we're all so judgmental. And the reason why you experiment with being mean is, like, you say something to someone and you watch the way it hurts them, and you don't really like how it makes you feel when you're being mean to that person either. And this is what the phones take away. This is why it's like easy for like House In Habit to write about things and not recognize like I'm a human being. We are very removed from our humanity, and we forget that experimenting with being mean is a part of growing up, right? Calling someone fat, whatever you've done something, and you just forgot. You forgot. I actually remember one day, me and my girlfriend prank called someone, and we were in middle school, so we had to have been 11 years old.
Oh, middle school sucks.
We're all so mean. We're all so mean. And I remember we prank called this girl, and she was fat. And I'm just confessing this right now, but we didn't like her. I don't know why. I don't even know why we didn't like her. And we told her Halloween was coming up, and we told her that we wanted her to be a pumpkin and she should wear orange. Okay? Mean, really mean. No record of it, except for right now on this podcast, and it's going to be cut, and I'm going to be taken down and canceled. but do you know what I mean? But we did this thing.
I was that fat kid, so you know what?
Yes.
You're good. Here's your moment.
Right, and who knows? I don't remember why we did it. Maybe she liked it. Whatever it was, but we were just mean. Everybody was like mean, trying out being mean, and then you're like, I don't really.
It's a vulnerability, though.
It's not good for kids to be mean, but it is a normal part of growing up for kids to experiment with being mean. Yeah. And now
it's a teachable moment.
It's a teachable moment, you know. And now we are so like, you know, you find a kid's tweet from 20 years ago and you're like, this is I'm like, we didn't have Twitter. So there was no record of me doing that because I didn't tweet it, you know.
I won't give the kids social.
Right, because of that.
It will ruin their lives.
Their brains are just not mature.
It will ruin their lives. Mm-hmm. And no matter how many times you tell them, don't do this or don't say that. They then get roped into these group chats.
Yes.
And
there's a culture of me. So if one person's like, oh, it'd be funny, we should do this, whether it's you're egging houses, whether it's like, you just forgot because you were allowed to. We got to forget our period of being mean, is what I'm saying. We got to forget it. For whatever reason, I didn't forget that prank call, though.
Because you know what? Because I think I have those moments where it's like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
What was going on for me? I can tell you that where that would have come out for me, ironically, was homophobia. And I didn't know that I was gay.
Right.
So I was like, this is disgusting.
Yeah, you probably said something.
Oh, I'm sure.
Think about it.
Oh
Think
my
about it.
God, I know I did. I remember the
And
first time.
now we're all holier than thou because we got to just forget our phase of being mean. And we're like, how could any person? I'm like, what do you mean? We all had it in us. Our brains weren't developed. We thought it was funny. We hated somebody maybe because of something that we saw in ourselves. Maybe maybe it's like you had same-sex attraction. So you then see someone being themselves and being a lesbian. And you're just like, oh my God, she's the most I actually knew a girl like that who bullied the crap out of this girl. And it ended up being that girl was a lesbian.
There you go.
And now she's a lesbian.
Yep.
And it's like crazy to think about how much she bullied this girl, Daniela, who was, because she was like, she's a dyke. She's But like, why would that girl, Heather, have to account for being a kid and not really knowing how to deal with their emotions? And that's how I view that situation. Like, he didn't know how to deal with those emotions. And so he picked mean, because mean is easier than comprehending why we're being mean at that age. Totally different when you're an adult. Totally different when you're like Jessica Reed Krause and you're like in your 50s and you're choosing to be mean, right? Then you go, what's wrong with you? What have we not solved in you that you would act that way?
And by the way, put it into the world. Like, this behavior is something you process in therapy.
Yeah, you got to process that by then.
What is going on inside of me that I have this hatred? It's just wild. But I find that the way you tackle things, or in my experience, is that you're an open book. You're authentic. If you hated Jews, you'd be like, I hate Jews.
I'm like known for saying what I think all the time.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Or like, do you find that also why did you go after BLM? Because I can tell you, for me, with all of the transgender stuff, listen, and whether you agree with me or not on this, and it's totally fine. I know you're religious, and that's, for me, we were fighting for gay marriage. We were fighting to be able to adopt kids. We got those rights. We should have shut the fuck up. We got it. The medicalization of a 12-year-old is bananas. You are literally making irreversible changes to this child's fertility, ability to have an orgasm, brain development, bone development. And the best part is all of these liberal advocates know absolutely nothing. They never read the CAS review, which is a 4-year system. I'm sure you know this review for the audience of all the different studies on gender affirming care.
They revoked that ability to do it in the UK and across Europe because they realized it's causing a lot more issues than it's solving. And
never looked at the WPATH files.
Because it's a virtue signal for them.
It is.
It's not about actually being knowledgeable and doing the right thing. It's about they don't want to do the research and they just want to go, well, I'm an accepting person. So whatever it is you want, I accept it. And
100.
It's like, actually, we shouldn't just accept everything. I don't know how we got to the place where we thought acceptance was a good thing. We should not accept people it's like, well, I'm going to let an 8-year-old do heroin. I'm an accepting person. You know, it's like, guys, no, we need to not accept some things, right? We need to understand that socially some things are not acceptable. Morally, some things are reprehensible. And we have to have the courage to call those things out. And something happened over time.
How do you not even look at what it's doing to these kids medically?
Crazy.
Protect them. If they are fully developed adults, I'm a libertarian. Like, live your life, man. I support you and I will fight for you to have all those rights that we all have. Transgender sports is a bit of a different issue because, in my personal opinion, it's not fair. It's not safe. I own a sports medicine facility. I mean, for God's sake,
Ridiculous.
There's an overwhelming amount of evidence to show that there is a vast difference in the physiological abilities of a biological male versus a female. That's a ridiculous conversation where we could look at the evidence, but people don't want to. And then they pretend to be this great person. Well, it's like, well, by the way, who do you have your empathy for? What about all the biological girls that worked their entire life to get on the podium?
Right. They don't care.
No.
It's so crazy.
It is bizarre.
And it was crazy but it's crazy that even like feminists, because that used to be their thing. Like, I'm a feminist. I care so much about women.
Yep.
And then when it really came time to do the feminist thing, they couldn't do it. They were just like, no. And I guess the patriarchy's back. Like, I'm going to support the man who just put on a wig. Like, that's all the patriarchy had to do to win was like just put on a wig and say, I'm a woman too. And then all of a sudden they could just like spike the ball on all of the rights that have been established for women, all the pathways that have been established for women. Yeah, that's a bit strange. It's a bit hypocritical, dare I say. But once again, this just shows you that we so much have gotten into this culture of acceptance. Going back to what it is about me that I think bothers people, like truly bothers people, is I don't accept everything.
So you don't accept BLM? Are you an accepting person?
No, what an absurd thing. I, from right out the get-go, knew that BLM was going to be just like the civil rights protests. You know, I grew up in a household with my grandfather. My grandfather grew up with real racism, Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah.
By the way, never had a victim mentality. Like it was stunning to me to hear him tell the stories about the Klansmen coming around and like shooting bullets into his dad's house. And it was this tremendous sense of pride. He'd be like, and my daddy would grab the gun and shoot back at them boys. Like, so when I watch people who didn't live through that, then adopt the victimhood of the things they didn't live through, I'm like, this is all very pathetic. This is all very pathetic. Like your ancestors who lived through it were 10 times tougher than you are. And you just want something to like whine about, really. Your life is great. Your life is phenomenal. Your life is fantastic. If they had what you had, the things that they would have done. But with BLM, I knew that at its core, what it was going to result in, just like the civil rights riots of the 60s, was that Black communities were going to be burned down to the ground and no one was going to be better for it. And that's exactly what happened. Go back, go to Minnesota and go walk. It's desolate. The businesses are chased out. Then they call it the white flight. Why did all the white people live and we can't bring any businesses into this like broken down town? Oh, I don't know. Maybe when you like allowed rioting and allowed people to drive cars into Balenciaga and steal things. Maybe the business owners went, you know what? I'm just going to go move my business somewhere else. And no one could think through that point. Also, I am so exhausted with the Black community being the only community that for whatever reason, when we're ready to organize and gather and riot, it's for a drug addict. Like, is there nobody else? Like, let's do that for Thomas Sowell. You know what I mean? Let's do that for Clarence Thomas. We are the only ethnic community that does that. If there was a Jewish like druggie who was high on fentanyl and got into a dust up with the police and died during a dust up with the police, Jewish people would be like, please don't even tell the press that he's Jewish. What did they be like? Please do not. This one's not one of ours. Seriously, it's so true. Asians would be out there like whipping his ass. Like Asians are a whole different breed. Asians will be like, I love Asian culture. Like I'm like obsessed with like Asian moms because they're just like they're so dead ass. I mean, they are just like they will hit their sons in public. There's no messing around, you know. And if that wasn't their Asian son, this is a true story. I dated. I was on a strong Asian kick first in my life, and I dated this guy who was Filipino. My Filipino mom, she was just insane. She was totally insane, but like in a very fun way. They're just so honest, you know. Like they'll tell you you're fat, you're stupid, you're dumb, you know. And she was amazing. She used to always say this to me. She used to be like, Candace, I like you, but you big bitch, you know. I used to just be like, okay. I loved her. So one night, her son, I was not there, and all of this was in high school. They all decided to do shrooms. Okay. And I this is what scared me away from ever doing shrooms, because he calls me and he's like asking me these questions that were super weird. He was having a good time and then he wasn't having a good time suddenly because he was by himself.
Psychedelics are very serious.
So he told me the Jesus statue was talking to him. And I was like, I don't know what's happening. I'm not having this experience. We're on the phone. And then he was like staring at his computer for like an hour. And then he was saying to me like, have you ever wondered if this is reality or if this is not reality? And I'm just like, Blair, what are you talking about? I don't know what's going on. So anyways, he then says like he thinks he's dying. Okay. And what he told me the next day was he went downstairs and he tried to throw up and he saw flies coming out of his mouth. You could just imagine this trip went so wrong. I'm glad it happened to him though, because it scared me. It scared me against psychedelics.
What I would tell you about, and just a quick sidebar on that one is, I think it's very powerful medicine when used in the right hands for the right reasons.
These were high school kids surrounded by a tree.
I agree with you completely.
It was not in the right hands. Like there was nobody guiding. There was no shaman. This was like
if you're treating, you know, trauma from war or heroin addiction, and you're at a medical facility doing ibogaine with a professional, these are different. This is your
These were high school kids just trying to like try something new, and he was like a straight A student, So this was like then he woke his mom up and just told her she was a nurse at the hospital.
Oh boy!
And she told her I think I'm dying. And she yelled at him and said, then you're going to die, okay? Because I don't want to be embarrassed, okay? I don't want to be embarrassed. She said, are you, in the background I hear, are you shitting me? I don't care if you die, you will not embarrass me. Like literally, that's Asians, right? So the culture that Black people have established is the exact opposite of these cultures, which by the way, who's doing the best in this country, hand over fist, Asian people. Their culture is just significantly better because they don't accept these sorts of things. And if we don't challenge Black people to be like that, if we don't say this is unacceptable, like it is unfortunate. I believe that the George Floyd story should have brought actually people together, because when I did a documentary on it and went and met his roommates, they met him in addiction center. He struggled with addiction his entire life. And addiction is something that I think has touched every family in America, mine included.
Oh my God.
And they could have brought us together rather than trying to drive us apart according to race and been like, listen, like he had enough fentanyl in him. Like fentanyl literally makes you stop breathing. Like when it's working, it makes you stop breathing. But they didn't go with that route because it wasn't what the media wanted at that time. And I it is sad that this man died.
Okay,
but why are we rioting? Why are we rioting?
That I agree with. There was an absolute different way to handle it. However, and I'm not saying that he wouldn't have died from the fentanyl, but listen, and obviously I get it, he's a criminal, but I watched that video and it was like 7 or 9 minutes.
9 minutes, that's the problem.
Friggin', by the time he's crying for his mother.
Okay.
Get the fuck
I'm about to wake you up. Ready?
Girl,
I'm about to take your red pill.
Get off.
No.
He was handcuffed.
I'm about to give you the red pill.
He almost sprayed the people in the crowd.
Red pill, blue pill. You only get one.
Give me the.
I'm going to hit you with the red pill.
I want the red one.
Have you ever seen the full arrest tape?
No.
You've only seen 9 minutes that were shot on the side of the sidewalk by Darnella Frazier because the Minnesota prosecution locked down the full arrest tape from the officers. You watch it, your whole mind is going to explode, okay? First and foremost, they tried to peaceably arrest this man. It's very clear he ingested more or whatever was in his car, trying to get away with it, whatever. They peaceably put him in the back of a cruiser, okay? And he says, I don't want to be in the car because I can't breathe. I have claustrophobia. The guys say, we just took you out of this car. What do you mean you have claustrophobia? Why are you acting funny? He asks the guy in the car who was with him, did he just ingest something? Did he do something? George Floyd asks the police officer to put him on the ground himself. Mama, which the media didn't tell you, they made you think that he was calling for his mom. It's not true. And there's a previous arrest where he also calls for his mom, where he survived, which was like from a month earlier because he was a repeat offender.
The mom thing, I'll never get that out of my head.
They never showed you the in the court case who testified and said, I'm Mama. His white girlfriend was Mama. Okay, he was calling for his white girlfriend. I did a whole documentary on it. I could show you the footage, and they're like, when he said Mama, they showed the multiple times that he has said that in previous arrests where he didn't die. I want Mama. He was talking about his girlfriend, who is white, by the way, which I think is also kind of significant. And he calls her Mama, okay? It wasn't his mother. He was calling out for because he was dying. And it was something that he had done multiple times. And he specifically asked to be put on the ground. Now, regarding what you think you saw from the front, you thought that you saw that Derek Chauvin was on his neck.
I just was like,
in police... Wait until you see the footage from behind. Wait until you see the footage from behind, which you were not allowed to see, which is because Minnesota locked this down. They did not want the public to ever see the full arrest tape because it just blows your mind that you could be this manipulated by one image of Darnella from the front. In the police academy, they are trained. When you put someone on the ground, and this guy requested to be put on the ground, okay? Like I said, everybody knew this guy, not the police officer. Everybody knew George Floyd because he is a repeat fentanyl offender. Mm-hmm. They are trained that the correct hold is to put the right knee, not on the neck, right here, right? If I had you get in that position right now and we recorded this from the front, it would look like you were on my neck because your knee is supposed to hold them down, like just your right knee is supposed to hold. They learn this in the police academy, okay? So he was doing what he was taught to do, and he was only doing it because George Floyd said he wanted to be put on the ground, okay? And so at that point, he's been saying, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, I can't breathe, blah, 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 blah. This very long arrest tape, and that goes on and on. They're asking if he's ingested something. as a police officer, yeah, okay, sure. We can debate until the cows come home about whether or not he could have really believed him and said maybe he really can't breathe, or maybe he could have thought and had that moment. Derek Chauvin could have had that moment and gone like, maybe he did ingest something and he's having like, something's going on. But they asked him, like they gassed him, and they were all being funny, didn't want to answer. And so there's so much more to that story that the media irresponsibly didn't report on. And they only showed the public that 9-minute video. And that is a crime. Like what they did to the public by not showing them the full arrest tape, to me, registers as a crime. What they did to the public by not just inserting the fact that Mama was his girlfriend, his white girlfriend. You didn't even know. You never even heard of this ever. But it was during the trial. She testified that she was Mama. Okay, so there's this is what I mean when I say that the media has been so irresponsible and like I said, at least it would have made the conversations, even if you knew all of that and said, but I still think he would have been alive today if the police officer, he should have been trained to register that like he was having a drug overdose, whatever. We can have that debate, but we cannot have an honest debate when you have people who still believe, just like you're still the person who's double masking on the George Floyd. Think about that.
Oh, jeez.
You're the double masker on the George Floyd because you don't know any of these facts. And why don't you know them? Because of whatever you were watching at that time, the media just said, this is the narrative and we will not allow any sunlight to come in. We are just going with Darnella Frazier's cell phone video. Think about that. Why did you never see the police footage? Police have to have a camera. They all had cameras on them. You've never seen it. Think about how weird that is. You saw a bystander's photo. Does that now strike you as odd that you never saw that? It's nuts. It's nuts. This is what the media does. They will just pick an enemy and pick a cause, and they will just pollute your mind, and you will believe it. And I count myself among this because I was a big believer that Harvey Weinstein was guilty. I was like a big believer because I was like, there's no way he's not. There's way too many people speaking out. And then I finally got into the case, and I was like, this is insane. Harvey Weinstein was just hung on the Me Too movement. Like,
wait, are you serious?
Yeah, I've been speaking to Harvey Weinstein for 2 years.
Come on.
I know. It's crazy. It's crazy. It is like you want to go down a freaking rabbit hole. But this is what they do. Movements get really big and then they find someone to hang. And I think Derek Chauvin, the BLM thing got big. They hung Derek Chauvin. And I think on the Me Too movement, they hung Harvey Weinstein. And Harvey Weinstein was an easy person to hang because he was immoral. He was like running the peninsula like it was a brothel. Like, the women who were sleeping with him. There's no question that like he was.
Right, I see what you're saying.
Oh, yeah.
He's a scumbag.
You need some nuance here.
I got it.
He didn't a girl, but
but he's a scumbag.
Oh, there's
because he's a legendary scumbag.
I mean, like he was sleeping with everyone. Everyone who wanted to have a part was throwing themselves at him. But that's the point. He had the power, and they wanted roles, and they slept with him. But the media not telling us, because nobody even knows, because there were so many women who spoke out. Like, who actually put him in prison? What was the case? What was the story? And I went back after I spoke to him, and I was like, he's got to be guilty of something. And it blew my mind, like how much the media can make you think you're getting information when actually you're getting nothing. You're getting nothing. They just like inundate you. This woman spoke out, and she hates Harvey, and he said he grabbed her butt, and she said blah, blah, blah. None of these people brought this into the courtroom. They were just saying this at the same time. And the ones that brought it into the courtroom, they were getting their cases dismissed for very valid reasons because they couldn't describe his penis, which is unique and one of a kind because he had gangrene and he had his balls removed. So they were all saying he made me fondle his balls, but Harvey Weinstein doesn't have balls. So one by one, these women just got plucked out of the courtroom because they couldn't describe the fact. They were describing him, it didn't exist. He got gangrene in the 90s, which ended up being a lifesaver for him in the courtroom when all these women just wanted money.
What?
The story is nuts. Or no nuts.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh my God.
No, it's insane. It's insane. You have to watch my Harvey series that we just started. And then you have the only 3 girls wound up putting him away, right? For 26 years. You look at the cases, it's no nuts. It's no nuts. It literally, you're telling me he hit you, and then you had a 5-year consensual affair with him, and you took your mom to meet him. I'm reading these emails, and I'm going, what is this? What is the court? Like, is it just everything a banana report? Is this all about social justice and not real justice? And I say this as someone who has said to Harvey multiple times, listen, I'll tell you, I think you're a bad person. Wouldn't want you to be I told him, I wouldn't want you to be my husband. I think you're immoral. I think you put yourself in the circumstance to even let this happen because you were cheating on your wife, right? and you definitely abused your power. There's no question. Like if you have me on the jury and you're like, did this man abuse his power? I'd be like, absolutely.
Right. But is he a rapist?
We stop at rapist. We stop at rapist. And that is crazy that his children have to grow up with thinking that their father was a rapist as opposed to being like, my father was immoral and cheated on my mom nonstop.
Okay. I want to address one theme that I'm seeing here. So people are like, oh, you're going to go after this George Floyd situation. You're not sympathetic to Black people. You're going to champion Harvey Weinstein not being a racist. You're not a true feminist. My interpretation of this is that you want women to do better and be stronger and be honest and fight in a very straightforward and fair way. Mm-hmm. And you want Black people to elevate the best of the best and live to that standard. Right. And that is your way of fighting for Black excellence and women to rise and be powerful. Am I projecting into this? Because I feel the same way about gays. I'm like, guys.
I just want everyone to achieve excellence, and you can't do it with identity politics. I hate identity politics, right? It shouldn't be because you're a woman or because you're Black. We should all be aspiring to tell the truth, right? Because I think it fortifies us. Being honest fortifies us. Being forthright fortifies us. And it feels better, actually. It feels better when, for me, if you're talking about a case and there actually is a true victim, and it makes us look stupid when we then see Blake Lively's harassment and we're able to watch the video because Brian Freeman savagely just drops it online. He's a savage.
Thank God. I've hired him. Thank God. So now he's conflicted out.
He is a savage. He's like, just read it all. Here's the website. Yeah. And then we get to actually watch the thing that first we got to read her description of it, and then we got to watch it, and you just go, women are pathetic. That's the first thing I thought when, why? We don't need that. We don't need this Blake Lively. Please. There are real women, by the way, who are being, I want you to understand this. There are real survivors of like women who did nothing, were walking to their car and a stranger. And that's what makes me angry. I understand. When everybody is achieving this fake victimhood, is that it makes nobody believe the real victims. And there are tons of them. There are tons of women who have survived. There are people who have been by their fathers who survived things in their homes and come out of it. And you diminish their stories when you're just like a flippant, arrogant, C-list actress who married another person who's arrogant and flippant, and you're both narcissists and you just want to take a movie. Like, shame on you. We're seeing this through the end. And so I believe in real justice. And I think, again, because it elevates everyone when you seek true justice and not a justice that's based on identity politics.
I want to have a little fun with one topic because this one just seems so friggin' bananas to me. But you do your homework with so much, you're meticulous. So I dare to question you at this point. But I have to admit the Macron's wife thing is just too, Candace, it's too creepy and crazy.
Did you watch it?
No.
Gotta watch it. That's why Joe Rogan he was like, I'm 2 episodes in and I got fully convinced. And I was like, I would never stake a claim on something. There's no, it's so, when I got into this story and I read it, I was like, this is insane. If there's any truth to this, this is the most insane thing
What attracted you to the
ever.
Story to begin with? Just because the wife looks a little bit
No. She and look, it is that on its face is weird, right? Like typically you don't find 14-year-old boys who are like a 45-year-old woman. Like that already is kind of weird, right? Like off the bat.
Yeah. But I just thought the French.
Yeah, exactly. The French are a little strange, yes, with their sexual, the French Revolution was like a sexual revolution. And they've definitely brought a lot of that. And I was like, that's kind of a strange type, whatever, but nothing that would, I didn't fall for conspiracies that Michelle Obama was a man, nothing, nothing like that. And so I'm not prone to that sort of a thing. When I don't even remember I know what it was. It was a Daily Mail article. And I'm headed to a UFC fight and I am sitting in my hotel room. And it was such a strange article as it says Emmanuel Macron vehemently denies that his wife's a man. And there was a video of him being like, the rumors are not true. And I just thought to myself, what's going on in France? What a strange thing for a president to be denying. Just basic interest. And then when I kept reading the piece, the Daily Mail was like, this has been fully debunked by this childhood photo. And I'm like, wait, this is all we got? What do you mean fully debunked by a childhood photo? This should be debunked because she's got 20,000, she's got 3 kids. She's got video, one childhood photo. I'm like, that's a little weird. Let me just see how we've gotten to the point that they're White House, the Elysee Palace, has to even respond to this, because that means it's big. It's not small when the president's responding. Like Barack Obama never dignified any of the, you know what I mean? He was never like, it's not fair.
Right,
so it was, he looked
of
a little unnerved. Then I looked into it and I went, oh my gosh, this is true. It was that simple. Like, oh my gosh, this is true. Because you're telling me you've got this person who's this old and you have no photos of this person from the time that they're like 4 or 7 until they magically turn like I want to say 40 years old or 30 something. That's just not normal. You allegedly have 3 kids. You can't just like show me a photo of you. Forget pregnant. Everybody holds their kid in the hospital. You got nothing. So this is crazy. And then I started debunking what the media was saying, because they kept calling this a far right conspiracy theory. It's not true. Actually, people on the left, a Vanity Fair reporter, was trying to do a puff piece on Mrs. Macron and fell on a hole. She was just like, I can't find anything about this person. This is crazy. Why can't I? And then then another woman who was a Holocaust documentarian, like this is basically like the BBC of France, right? It's like Channel 1 or Channel 7. And this woman is fully on the left, again, doing this piece because she's like, this is a historic election. Brigitte Macron has got so much power. And she gets called into the Elysee Palace. Okay. And she came out and was like, they wanted to know who she was speaking to, trying to find anything about her. They told her exactly who she could speak to. And she was like, I felt like I was under interrogation so these were people who are like celebrated in the mainstream journalists who were trying to honor Brigitte, who suddenly were like, something is not right. Like, I've never seen anything like this. You feel like you're going to get arrested for asking any questions. And that's where the story begins, okay?
That's crazy.
It's crazy. It is crazy. And then when the more you find out and you start going down and you're going, okay, this journalist, they started locking up journalists, threatening journalists. You don't send the Secret Service to preemptively lock up a journalist that's working on a piece, to detain a journalist that's working on a piece. Emmanuel Macron did this, okay? That's your next clue. If I said, I'm working on a story, Jillian Michael was born a man, you would laugh. Exactly. You see what I mean? She's a man. She's actually, Jillian Michael is born a man. You want them to publish it because it's so ridiculous that you're like, this is crazy. Like the same thing I said to that girl, Emily Hagan. She was like, yeah, I was working on this piece that like your husband, I think she was saying like, my husband was involved with Andrew Tate. I mean, there's zero, not a shred of proof. And I was like, publish it. Like, it's nuts. And then it got stopped because someone said this is literally libel. Like, we would not have this reaction of like, send the Secret Service in because it's ridiculous. There's thousands of photos of me as a kid. Here's this yearbook, this yearbook, this yearbook. Not only that, they went back. You're not allowed to get a yearbook photo. They locked everything down. You're not allowed to get military records, nothing, because she's a man. She's just a dude. She transitioned when she was in her early 30s, became a teacher, got the Adam's apple surgery, met Macron. I mean, everything they told you about this woman was just fictitious, and it was made up because she's connected to a tremendous amount of power in France. And I'm talking the Bernard Arnault family, the Louis Vuitton family, even her stylist styles transgendered people. It's like the whole thing is so in your face that it's insane that this secret has gone on for so long.
Okay, so Mbappe, the soccer player, was very open about having a transgender girlfriend. No one cared.
Right, that's the point. So then that gets into the next layer where we have to because I only stuck to the facts because if I mean, think about this. Emmanuel Macron sent me. Emmanuel Macron sent me a threat before I published the series. That's why you should know it's real. Have you ever heard of this in your entire life? The president of France sent me a 100-page letter threat before we published our series. Okay,
you're an American.
Exactly. That tells you how insane they've gone. Could you imagine this? First off, you're a G7 leader. I'm a pregnant mom in Tennessee. What are you thinking? Okay, sending a threat. And I think he thought, well, I'm the president. Brigitte and Emmanuel sent it to me. And if she sees it, she's just not going to do this. So he played the F around, and then he found out because I was only going to do one episode. And I said, now we're doing a whole series because how dare you? Who are you? What do you don't come to an American on speech and tell them that they can't talk about this topic. And so they sent us a 100-page letter and we said, oh, great, perfect. Here's how defamation works in America. You have to prove actual malice. And we're not actually trying to be malicious here. Right. So here are some questions we'd like you to answer. Was Brigitte Macron born a biological male? Yes or no? We sent yes or no questions and said, we will not run this piece if you just answer these questions. They didn't answer the questions. They were declined after sending the best law firm in DC to send a server processor to my house. They did not answer the questions. They declined to answer the questions because they can't. Because the truth is that she was born a man, right? And I said, okay, so here's to think about how crazy that is. So let's say it really is just causing you stress that I'm saying Jillian Michael was born a man. She was actually Michael Jillian, right? She was Michael Jillian. And then you're like, hey, that's crazy. Don't even publish this piece. I'm gonna send you a threat. And then I say, okay, fine. Just answer this question. Were you born a biological female? You go, yes. You psycho? Yes. Wouldn't do it. Wouldn't do it. We've been in communication with them. They will not answer the questions. And then we said, okay, well, now you can't sue because you can't prove actual malice because we literally have told you that we will not publish this piece if you simply answer these yes or no questions. They had even a woman who was like a fraudulent, literally like in prison, arrested for fraudulently editing pictures. She's in their PR web. She's now been forced out because she was like a gangster and like involved in drugs. The amount of people in their orbit that were arrested for pedophilia, it's insane. It's insane.
What?
Yeah. And so what's the reason why they're lying?
We've crossed over from like, him having a transgender
but that's the problem.
partner,
Emmanuel Macron was only 14.
Like, whatever. I'm a person that's like, do you? Like, I don't even know why you'd hide it. You're French.
Right.
No one cares.
That's what the problem is.
If Mbappe's not embarrassed, do but where's the what's the...
It's statutory. This is the other problem, right?
Oh.
So if you did take on somebody else's identity, you fell in love with... Their love story is already weird. You fell in love with a 14-year-old boy.
He was 14?
He was 14. Okay.
Oh my God.
So the press lied about that. They first, when they came out with the story, said he was 17, but you can't lie because we know how old Emmanuel Macron was when he was in the play that you said you fell in love with him on. It was this play. She saw him perform.
Know that at
yeah.
all.
So the journalists were able to debunk everything that
So
the press was.
Me, this individual, man or woman,
40,
irregardless,
in love with a 14-year-old boy,
and got away with it.
Got away with it.
That's the part that I find absolutely disgusting.
And it's statutory. Okay. And it still holds, by the way, right? It still holds until the end of this year. Brigitte Macron could be tried for this. And this is why they're freaking out. They're arresting journalists. They're doing all this stuff because it's true. None of this would be a big deal if it was false. I mean, when you get into this is why people are just hooked on it because it's like, all you have to do is, I'm like, you probably have heard this is a crazy far-right conspiracy. No.
Yeah.
This is like well-meaning journalists who are like, it's Michelle Obama. I want to cover Michelle Obama because she's amazing. And then they're like, suddenly getting called in by the Secret Service and they're in trouble and everyone was going, something's not right here. And then there were just these incredible French journalists who lived through literal hell to get this story out. And one who had to move his family to Milan. He's done the most incredible work. He's never been sued by them. He has an entire book called Becoming Brigitte. And I was honored that he allowed me to present this story because it is one of the most sinister stories. And the implications are scary. Like there is, like I said, the pedo nebula, as he describes it, of the people just around them who were working on their administration, with their administration, who then subsequently got arrested for their kids or this or that. What? Yeah, and I show people the facts. Like I'm like, this is not disputed. This is like, here's the guy, he's been arrested. One guy admitted it. He had reached a statute of limitations, but his daughter wrote an entire book about how her brother was by him at these weird French political parties. And so it's much deeper. It's that is the reason why it speaks to something that's so much darker. To think that this could be going on at the top, at the tippity top, is very scary. And so the series, it's amazing. It's the most viral thing we've ever done. And the reason why it's viral is because it's true. Because if I was just up there being like, meh,
I just thought people love conspiracy
she looks like
things.
a man, no one would watch it.
I'm a little worried about you. Are you worried about you?
I am so faithful and such a strong Catholic that like I just let God worry about me. And, my husband and I have just dedicated ourselves to the truth, and the reason why we do that is because the things that we're uncovering, if we are cowards now, our children will inherit our cowardice. That's our perspective. And this world is getting pretty dark. We're talking about, the kids stuff is getting weird. Like we were just saying, where it's like, let kids be kids and decide what they want to do when they're adults. They're like, no, you can't have that. We have to make these decisions for them. Like there's so much going on right now that it is going to take people to be courageous, people that are willing to be called names. Like we can do this, guys. If it's okay, if you get called a racist, a sexist, anti-Semite, like just fight for truth and fight for justice. Like we all need to do this. Left, right, every color, creed needs to come together and recognize that our children are doomed to inherit our cowardice. It's a very telling time right now. I think it is a critical time, crucial time.
Well, I appreciate your faith in God, but maybe a really good security service.
I think it's an act of vanity, security. Like they shot JFK in a moving vehicle. It's president,
Oh, I think they were in on it. That'll be a different show.
That's my point. That's my point, So it's like, if they want you, they're going to get you, They're going to get you. So
I really hope they don't.
I hope they don't either.
This is our first conversation of many. And where can everybody watch all of these pieces you're putting? I mean, I'm sure, but please tell me, and I'll put it in the show notes.
So we put our YouTube series, obviously, if you want to watch it. We're also on Spotify. You can watch it on Spotify Video, which is great. And Spotify, by the way, is so great because they have never taken down any episodes of anything.
Wow.
Yeah. They actually, I don't want to jinx it, but they might actually believe in free speech.
I think they broke their teeth with Joe Rogan.
I think they did, yeah. And they were like, you know what? You just got to let people be free to think. And so, yeah, those are the two places if you want to watch these series. Harvey Weinstein one, we're 4 episodes in. Brigitte one has wrapped up, but based on what they're doing right now, I'm thinking about doing a season 2. I just don't like when people go after the little guys, the journalists and things like that. It just really bothers me. And there's another series that we did. I can't remember at the moment. Whatever. I plead pregnancy brain. It's fine.
Fair.
Yeah.
Well, you're magnificent.
Thank you
so much. And I hope, even if it's over Zoom, that you will come back. And
I will
teach me about all this stuff. And thank you. I know you need to boogie. So
yeah, I know that you're going to just watch the whole arrest tape. You're going to be like, what's the media doing to me? I've been double masked this whole time.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the podcast, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And make sure to let me know what guests you want to see on in the future.